Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon in Nashville.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you're listening to our show tonight. Tony is busy writing, so he couldn't do his thing, which is that really made me sad right there. There you go. All right. We've got a great show tonight. We've got pedals in hand, and we've got a guest that we are very excited to talk to. Guest, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Andon Whitehorn. I am the person behind Lantern Manufacturing.
Lantern Manufacturing. Indeed. I wonder, do you get a lot of calls about making lanterns and stuff?
No, I did have a situation though. A couple weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty fun storm here in Richmond, and the winds and rain had knocked out the power. And so my wife and I were going through the house, no lights on, finding the flashlight, and just in total darkness for hours. And she's like, "If only you actually manufactured lanterns, this would be a viable business for this time of day." So
yeah. Now I detected, when we were talking earlier, there's a little bit of Oklahoma slipped out, but you just said "my wife," which
my wife.
You dropped the Y and substituted like an A and a little H.
Yep.
Which there's like a little tiny Y in there. So that's interesting. Have you noticed how your accent has shifted? Are people confused by you? Like, you sound like us, but not like us.
Not so much. Well, it depends. Maybe.
Because you're in Richmond, Virginia.
I'm in Richmond, Virginia right now.
Yes.
So a couple drinks in, maybe start sounding a little different. Start saying y'all more,
yeah.
Which I'd say anyway.
Yeah.
Or ain't. A bunch of words that I know better not to, but I still do. But Oklahoma City, weirdly enough, is if you look on a map of accents or dialects or whatever, Oklahoma City is actually kind of an island where there isn't necessarily one. Now, if you move north, south, east, or west of there, you'll find a lot more of it. But it's kind of a weird non-thing, but anything you hear is just picking up from having lived there for 30 years. So
interesting.
Yeah.
You are one of several people that we've had from the central east border, the Virginia, the Virginia, West Virginia, Carolinas, all that whole area. Recently, I don't know what it is. And when I say recently, I've also been scheduling people to come on the show that are from around those areas too. So, we're spending I feel like we're spending a lot of time over in that area, the mid-eastern seaboard.
It's nice to be in the same time zone.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself in the seaboard?
Technically, yeah, we're close enough. We're an hour from the ocean, depending on which part of the ocean you want to see.
Right.
Hour from the mountains,
the wet part.
What have you? The wet part, yeah.
The deep part.
How much? Yeah, the deep. How deep you want to get.
Okay.
Before this, I was working in restaurants, and the last place I was at for 4 years, but essentially since we had moved here, was a seafood focused restaurant. So I definitely.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah, it is convenient, and that's also my background in cooking is in seafood and sushi, so that it was just a very nice fit. So,
nice, not bad.
Worked
very
well.
Cool. Before Jerry gets all excited because we're talking about food and stuff, let's get back to our show about gear. Like I said, we've got a great show. Now, for those who are not familiar with Lantern Manufacturing, where can people go to find out more about what you do?
So you can go on my only social media really is Instagram. I'm on YouTube under Lantern Manufacturing, but that's mainly just for posting demos. Pretty much any video you see on Instagram, you're going to see on YouTube as well. Just kind of the same thing. But both are at Lantern Manufacturing if you're using the @ sign. Otherwise, website is lanternmfg for manufacturing. So lanternmfg.com or bigcartel.com/lanternmfg.
Gotcha.
So it redirects either way. So
okay,
Nice.
perfect.
yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to find all about. Pick whichever one you want.
I'm on Threads too. I don't know if anyone's still on that, but I signed up for that. A while ago.
We just had a conversation about Threads recently. Anyways, we've spent our time there. But if you want to go see a post over there, you can go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've replied to someone's post on there.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, okay, onward and upward. Announcements. I think we got a kind of handful of them tonight, Tony.
Oh yeah.
I
mean,
myself.
oh well,
We got two handfuls of announcements.
We got a proverbial bushel.
Yes. Okay, you go ahead. You do yours.
Okay, I'm going to do mine first.
All right.
This is actually kind of, by the time this airs, we will have been enjoying company with our friends at the Fall 2023 Pedals and Pints.
Yes.
Held here locally at a brewery.
Yes, it's a traveling brewery pedal show.
Yes, and guitars this time.
And guitars.
Because this time,
My boy.
our good friend Chase Gullett,
Yeah.
as well as Clifton Guitar Works is going to be there too.
Yes.
And gosh, I mean the participant
keeps growing.
The participant list looked like a guest list on the Guitar Knobs.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean,
most of them have been on.
yeah, we had Rare Buzz, Malaise Forever, Native Audio, Occult FX, Zero G, IOD, and many more.
Yes. Stomp Box Parts is going to be there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And who else?
Well,
Thimble Wasp. They're
Thimble Wasp,
They're
yeah.
pretty much putting it on.
Yeah, that's right. Thimble Wasp.
Thank you to Thimble
actually,
Wasp for making that happen around here. I think it's a fantastic event. We had a great turnout last time, and really anxious to see some people. And we're going to have some very cool things happening there that I can't really mention.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very nice.
So, yes, that will have come and passed by
It will
Tim.
come
See
and
these-
pass, but I think it's honorable and notable that these folks put this together.
Yes.
Second show right here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio,
There you go.
at beautiful Columbus, Ohio breweries. It's good for you.
It's like soup. It's good for you.
It's like soup.
It's good and it's good for you.
It's like cold soup.
All right, Jared, I'm going to do one because I have two, and then you can jump in and we'll make a My Announcement sandwich, okay? How about that?
Have at it.
Yeah, how about it?
Have it.
So we recently had an episode, I believe, well, it was like 2 or 3, but anyways, we talked about the Satanic Panic that happened in the 80s. All the talk shows all the parents on the talk shows at Donahue and everybody were
Tipper Gore.
scared to death, and Sally Jesse Raphael was wagging her fingers at all the evil heavy metal people. And I actually we asked for feedback, and we received a whole bunch. And I will say unanimously, and these we got some of the same, but I got a note from Matt Hall, and as well as Aaron Aarin, Aaron H, and they both voted for Hellbent for Leather. And they're like, obviously. And Aaron said at the beginning of the podcast, you were talking about the Satanic Panic playlist and Judas Priest and asking what Priest songs, yada, yada. I would add the quintessential Another Thing Coming. And then he said the Hellbent for Leather. So thank you to Matt and Aaron. Those were like two of the first ones in on that. So we got a lot of people voted for those two, which, that makes sense. That deserves to be in there.
I still say Judas Priest is not a satanic band.
None of them are. That was the whole
There were a
point. That was
few
the
of
kind
them.
of ridiculous point. Not even at that stage that they weren't. I mean, it was like pre-real satanics, like Venom and stuff like that. That was like Venom scary music.
Scary
Anyways,
stuff.
anyways, Jared, go ahead.
Okay, if you want to go see your old buddy Jared talk about some pickups, go to Sweetwater, and I'm in the videos somewhere talking about Gibson pickups.
Nice.
So
Did you say
have
nice
fun.
things about Gibson pickups?
Yeah, of course. I was selling them on the show.
Nice.
Well, I mean, talking about
I
them
know.
with Don Carr.
Yeah.
That was a really good time, and
You did a
They
good
have
job
a-
on that.
oh, you saw it? Nice.
Yeah.
They have a heck of a facility over at Sweetwater. So if you're ever driving through there, or
Did you see your cousin?
near there, my niece,
Your
and she
niece.
was actually in Columbus, in Ohio, when I was there,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
which was weird, but yeah.
She planned it that way.
That was my second time there. It's an amazing place, so check it out.
Yeah, Tony, we should go up there. We still haven't been there.
Yeah, it's a quick drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple hours.
2
That's
hours.
all I had. The other stuff I'll do during the thing of the week.
The other thing.
We could pick up Mikey along the way.
Yeah, drop them off at the
Exactly.
7-Eleven. All right. I also want to just do a quick shout out. I had a really nice conversation with a chap down under in Australia. I think Victoria, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Don't throw rocks at me about that, Bruno. It's Bruno Lobau. We just had a nice conversation over the Instagram internets, and he said, the podcast makes my day. I drive a lot for work, visiting clients, and have listened to all the back catalog. I wait for it every week to come out and save it to my longest trip in the car. Your laugh makes me laugh so badly. I don't know. He might have been Syriing this. I'm not really sure. Amazing bunch of dudes you are. Well, man, I love that. Thank you so much. And he also shared his band. His band is called Fireglow.
Oh.
So if you go check that out on.
Do
I
they
think on
play
Spotify.
Rickenbackers?
He does. He plays a Rickenbacker bass.
Is it a
There you
fire
go,
glow bass?
Tony Bolonsky.
I'm not exactly sure. Oh, it looks like I don't know if anybody else plays. I see a Telecaster and a 335. So no,
Okay.
unless I don't know.
That would be perfect.
I'm not really sure where it comes from, but they got a great sound going on,
Yeah.
and I just really appreciated the conversation we talked. He actually hit me up about my band, which oddly enough, we're getting a lot of action in Australia. I
great.
don't know why, but yeah, I'm all for it. So
You call that a song? You call
Tony, that was the worst thing you've ever said on
You
the
call
radio.
that a knife?
Yeah, no, I
You
got
get
it.
it.
I got
Get
it.
it.
Yeah.
You get it?
I saw a good meme the other day that was the cover of Crocodile Dundee, and it says, "Now that's what I call a knife," but it's done in the font of "Now that's what I call music." I like that.
There you go.
Clever.
Yeah.
Hey, one last thing. Mm-hmm. I would like to give a shout out to our good buddy Michio Murakishi.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, the thing.
Michio. Love
The thing
that
he
guy.
did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this will have been, I think, right after the Michio episode.
Yeah.
So Michio, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go to the Instagram and you will see a really neat thing from Justin Hawkins of
The Darkness.
The Darkness. Huge band.
Yes.
That and they're very, very good. And he is a super talented dude.
Oh, absolutely.
And Michio, who was on the show just previously, is a grand poobah and a great friend of ours. And he just said he got one of those cameo things to say thank you. And I didn't know what it was. I just clicked on it, and Justin Hawkins is like, "Hi, Todd." And I was like, "What?"
He was getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cool video.
And
what a neat thing to do.
It
Michio,
was super cool.
you are just now, you are at the top of the list.
Yeah, we need a new echelon to come up with.
I think so.
And I love the fact that he addressed the whole Stratocaster thing with me. It's like,
That was good.
It was just surreal to have Justin Hawkins talking to me directly about, how I should consider a Stratocaster.
Now, I'm
And
kind
he
of
ended up
curious.
saying-
Did Michio
Telecaster.
script that?
He goes, "No, I know you don't like it." I was like, "What?"
Well, I'm saying, it
don't
seemed,
know.
I mean, it seemed like it was kind of pretty much ad libbed.
I'm not sure. He's a professional.
He is a professional.
He's a hell of a performer.
I mean, he did it while he was getting stabbed by a tattoo gun.
I know.
That's even
Anyways, so it is pretty fun. Go check that out on our Instagram if you haven't seen it already. And Justin Hawkins has a fantastic YouTube channel.
Yes.
And if you don't like sitting and watching super long YouTube, you can still catch a lot of it on Instagram. I would love for him to come on the show. So I'm going to see what I can do to make that happen. Justin, if you're listening, come on the show. Hey.
We got an empty seat here.
Yeah.
You can do it while getting a tattoo.
Todd will give you a tattoo, a prison tattoo.
Right.
Yes. You just pick which prison you want tattooed, and I'll put it right on your back.
The ink will be orange and black.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We need to do our what's going on in our music world this week. Tanya Bolonsky, the beflemmed. You came in a little crockety, with your
Beflemmed?
You're phlegmy right now. You're phlegmy. Yes.
Tasty.
Yes, and tardy.
Tardy.
Tardy to class today.
Pardon
Tanya
my
Bolonsky,
tardiness.
take it away.
Well, Todd, I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did it.
You bought an SG?
What'd you do?
I went back to DH Gate. They
man.
sucked me in with another coupon.
Did you not tell me?
They
You
always
didn't tell me about it.
Am I going to
like this
did
one?
it. I think you might.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I can't help myself.
No,
It's
why
like
didn't
me
you
and food.
tell me?
I just
Oh.
can't help it. You got to go back for more.
Yeah. I know. It's like crack. Anyhow,
Yep.
actually, this stems from some photos that Henry Cash sent over to me because
Yeah.
he's having some single pickup, double cut Gretsch style guitars
Yep.
put together. And so I was just trolling around and then, hey, get your new coupon pack, blah, 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 blah. And they had what is actually a pretty cool version. It's not a single pickup, but it's as close as you can get for this kind of money. But it is basically a replica of Malcolm Young's Gretsch 6131.
Eastwood does one of those.
Yes, they do. But what's cool about this, so years and years ago, Gretsch did a Malcolm Young signature guitar.
Yeah.
And they did a single pickup and a double pickup. And I had one of the single pickup ones, which was cool. But here's the thing. It had a flame maple top.
No,
And
That's wrong.
And it had a matte finish.
that's wrong. Both wrong.
Both wrong.
Why'd you do that?
Well, that's so,
Uh-huh.
if I may continue. So I had it, and it was actually a very cool guitar. One of the big things was a badass wraparound bridge.
Okay.
So a brief history, Malcolm had a red Jet Firebird, which is a 6131, red top, black back and sides. And if you go to It's a Long Way to the Top video, the remastered one, you can actually see his Jet Firebird in what was his somewhat original state. Originally, it would have had two pickups. He routed it for a third middle pickup, added an extra switch. There's all kinds of extra holes in this thing. In fact, as I dug in a little further to DHgate, they do offer one that is as close to a replica of the Beast, as it's called, as you can find. And I don't like all the extra holes and things. But I didn't like the flame maple top. Well, this one that I ordered is it's essentially it's a plain top version of what Gretsch offered as a Malcolm Young signature model. This one has two pickups. And, like with all these things, I'll get the carcass or the body in, the guitar in and strip it, all the parts off and put in good parts. And so it's, I'm looking forward to it. I kind of, that was one guitar that I missed. Although I hated the flame maple top with a matte finish. So this one does not have a matte finish, and it has a plain maple top, which I like.
Is it black on the sides?
No, it's red on the sides, which is wrong, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, all right.
So I will keep.
So it doesn't look anything like his actual guitar.
Well,
it sounds like.
it does. It does. It doesn't have all
It has
those
two
empty
pickups.
holes.
It doesn't have the empty holes. It's
Right.
got red sides, not black sides.
Right.
Okay.
What's your point?
What is this? Why didn't you just get a Strat?
You know,
Anyways.
maybe I will. I'll get the Malcolm Young Strat.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Very cool.
That's
How much was said guitar?
With shipping and everything, $239.
Okay.
So not
Yeah.
very much at all.
No, not very much at all.
I mean, I'll put some money into it.
A pittance.
But what's cool about it, I'm a big fan of wraparound bridges, as you
Yeah.
probably know. I do prefer one pickup guitars, but I mean, obviously, I'll put a second pickup in this one.
So I'm confused about that because that's not a wraparound bridge.
Well, that's not a Malcolm Young.
Yeah, yes, it is.
No, it's
Look,
not.
it says right there.
Well, that is in its original
it's
state.
$2,500.
That was as the guitar was after he stripped the top off.
Uh-huh.
They had those Hagstrom tremolos on them.
Yeah.
In later years, he took all that stuff off and
put a wraparound.
put a wraparound on it.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, good enough. All right. Well, at least I'm here to help you out with your guitar history, Tony. So
Thanks, Todd.
let's see.
What would I do without you?
Andon, how about yourself? What's going on in your music world this week that is not building pedals?
That is not building pedals. So I'm part of a vinyl trading forum that's been around for like 20 years at this point.
Interesting.
In the last few years, I've been running. There's always been like a gear thread every month where people talk about new gear they got, questions about setting something up, etc. How these speakers sound, is this a good price for this, etc. In the last few years, I've been running them, coming up with witty puns for the titles of them for every month. But someone in the thread was putting together a Les Paul, like a double cut, or like a Les Paul Junior style guitar, and they were having issues with the bridge and the tailpiece, and that got me thinking about a guitar I hadn't picked up in a couple of years, which was actually my to preface this, I am cripplingly left-handed, so all my guitars are left-handed, which means I kind of have to take what I can get, or I have to be very particular about the kind of guitars that I get. But I have a Hondo 2 Genesis, which is essentially like a double cut Les Paul that's left-handed, from the Matsumoku factory, which is like a lot of guitars that were made in Japan that of good quality were from this factory or from like affiliated factories. So it's like a 40 plus year old guitar. I think 80 is when it came, 79, 80 is when it came out. But I hadn't picked it up in a couple of years, and I had it set for B standard. So half my instruments are in E standard, half are in B standard, so 2.5 steps down. So I have a bass in E standard, a bass in B standard example. But I hadn't picked it up in a while, so I picked it up, started to play because of this topic we were talking about, and it's still in perfect tune, like 3-ish years later. It's been moved between houses, different temperatures and things like that, and it's just in the perfect tuning to just play it in. It's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Even though you're left-handed, I think you're all right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that must be very difficult. I know our friend Eric Marrow, he's left-handed, and it looks bizarre when he's playing a guitar.
He and I talk a lot about that, actually. So I've got a bass that I commissioned a good while ago that's actually finally coming to me. That is a Gibson G3 work-alike, like a knockoff. Going back to like the Gibson pickup discussion, it even has like Bill Lawrence work-alike pickups in it. So like I paid for that, had it all put together because Gibson never actually made left-handed grabbers or rippers, really. Like you may find a one-off, but the chances are that was either a custom order or it was something that like someone had like put together from like the same like I guess like plans or what have you. So I essentially did that with a reputable builder that makes what he calls grippers. So between a grabber and a ripper, and basically you tell them what you want insofar as hardware, wood, neck style, like finish, all of that, and they make it for you. So I told this person, and I was like, I just want a stock G3 bass, but left-handed. And I finally have that coming to me, and I'm really excited for that.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, those the grabbers and the rippers are going like wildfire right now.
They are.
It's crazy.
For a bass that used to be kind of just eschewed for its cost, or used for its cost as well.
Yeah. Jared actually has one that if he ever decides to get rid of, I am interested in. So
yeah, it's I see there's a one person in particular, but there's a few other people online as well. But they essentially have like a full working G3, but they've just parted it out and are selling each individual part on like eBay and Reverb, and it's just driving me crazy because they're asking like $200 for like the back plate for the neck, or like the toggle switch is $175, and it's insane to see, and it's maddening for someone that like never even had the opportunity to like get one of those, just to see someone be like, here's the neck, it's $800.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Didn't they do a reissue of that, or was that maybe Epiphone that did one a few years ago?
I think they did. I think they did like a grabber. I don't know if it was a grabber or G3.
I think it was a G3.
I think it was G3. Yeah, because they didn't want to deal with a pickup. But like,
there was a grabber reissue at one time, and they did have the sliding up and down pickup thing, and yeah, you probably, I'm gonna guess you probably won't see something like that anytime soon, but I could be wrong. I don't know, and I'm not supposed to really tell you anyway. But yeah, but we have done some in the past that, and we did revisit that. All it is, I think Tony, it's just a loose piece of. It's just the way that the pickguard material is structured, and it's kind of tight. So you just grab the pickup and you move it up and down to.
Yeah, it's like
it stops wherever you stop.
Yeah. I don't know if it has spring clips in it or whatever, but I think if I remember right, on the bottom of the guard there are like 2 channels, and then there's another piece that the pickup actually mounts into, and that's what slides back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, but
there's enough space that it can go all the way forward. Well, not all the way forward. It's within a defined area. I don't know. I think if they really wanted to do it right, they'd come up with something that you could really dramatically change the positions.
Yeah, too cool. Jared, yours is the Ripper, I believe, right? You have a Ripper.
Yeah, it's the Ripper. It's got the 2, Bill Lawrence style design bass pickups, and it sounds great. It's got 4 different settings, and I don't know if the settings are correct or not, but you can get some good tones out of this, and plays really well. It's an old vintage bass. The pickguard's cool as heck. I know a guy that did a fantastic job putting the new.
It is
putting out a new pickguard.
We've talked about this a lot on the show, where some of the reasons that we're attracted to those, like I think the V, the Flying V, with the full pick guard is a great example of that. Even the Explorer, they didn't follow the lines exactly. They just said, nah, this thing shoots out over here, and it's like it is asymmetric to what the body is doing, and there's something that is arresting and very cool about that. I really like that.
All right. One for the.
So there you go.
Todd votes yes.
Yeah, I like them both. And they feel good. They feel really good to play. I really like yours, Jared. So I'm just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, I love this thing.
I'm just saying.
It's great to have a bass again.
Jared.
I had some EBOs and EB3s actually, and
those are terrible.
Gave one away, and I sold one.
I was about to say, I think the setups on those things look sick just because they look like a big SG, but I think the setups on those can be kind of a nightmare. I've got a friend I've got a friend that has one, and it's a gorgeous looking instrument, but it's just hell to put together and like to maintain apparently. So
there's a guy named Tarman Kelling that does a fantastic job building a replacement wiring harness for EB3s, and so that's what I did with one of mine, and I didn't have any trouble after that. But the switches they used in the 70s, the EB3s were, and they use those switches for other model guitars too, but they just didn't last they probably lasted as long as they, good for them that they lasted plenty long for Gibson, but now they're kind of just deteriorating and you can't fix the darn things. They're really difficult. I tried to work on and fix one of those switches. Ain't happening. They're very tiny, small, finicky, and those are the first things that go out on those.
Those look like a ukulele on Jared.
I am so related to like switches and things like that. I have, as a side note, I just sent you all some pictures on your Instagram of the bass that I had built if you want to peep those. But
great.
As a side note to like knobs and things like that, so I'm getting my dream bass soon, this like G3 work-alike. And my dream guitar that I actually have is a West Tone Thunder.
Nice.
Yeah, so it is a guitar that I almost had in like 2003, lost out on eBay by like $5. So like it was 230, 235 is what it ended up being. Around 2010, I was able to get one, and it's a dream guitar. Plays incredibly. The pickups scream. Has an active circuit for it if you want to use it. Otherwise, you can use it as passive. But it takes like two 9-volt batteries, so it's 18-volt. But it's a dream guitar. It works awesome. A couple of years later, it got stolen, or just like swiped from a place we were doing a recording session at.
Oh my God.
But then a few years ago, I was able to find one for a decent price and have it shipped to me. And I had to there were some toggle switches and things like that on there that had they were like the paddle style switches, and they had been like broken off. So like I had to do like some like extensive, very nerdy research to like find these exact like particular style like paddle switches on like old West Tone forums to order them and like resolder them in and get everything looking how it should, because that's a thing of mine is if I'm going to have the guitar, I want it to look the part essentially. So I'm with you on those old switches. I'm very particular with them.
Oh yeah.
I dig it.
Hey, wait, are we still in the music world this week?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Hey,
I haven't done mine yet.
There's no rules except the rules that we make.
Yeah.
On that note, I remember seeing when we had Seric basses on the very first time. The minute I saw those Seric basses, like they reminded there's an essence of these the Ripper, the Grabber era kind of bass with especially with the pick guards.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go back and look at it, compare them. There are essences of them.
They're more like the
essences,
coronets, because they have the butterfly
essences,
pick guards.
evanescence.
No, butterfly pick guard. What are you talking about? No, man.
You talking like the SGs with like the full like the Batman Batwing pick guard kind of thing?
No, I was talking about like the Gibson, the Rippers and the Grabbers and stuff.
Yeah, but he made one that was like the non-offset double cut, like a old Coronet or a Wilshire.
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them. He makes a handful of them that
that's
have
the
that
one.
vibe.
That's the one.
Yeah, like the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
No,
I just looked it up. I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's got a range of style, but the one that I locked onto in particular, I'm trying to recall the model here. Is it's the Lincoln. That's the first one that I saw. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to play bass so bad on that. And
that's a cool one.
Which is exactly what I would do. I just play bass really bad on it. But
anyways, on the guitar side of that, there is old friend of mine, Brady Smith from Old Blood.
Yeah.
We kind of played music a little bit in high school, and he had just gotten a guitar that was a Gretsch Committee.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it is a gorgeous guitar, but the pick guard looks very similar to what you're describing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the butterfly look on it, and it's just like it's a guitar I've like dreamed of since then. And of course, being left-handed, the choices are few and far between. But it's nice to dream.
Yeah. And those, I think they had like a tinted, smoked plexi. Pick
They
guard
did
on
they did some that were like, I think his was all black, but I've also seen some that were like the translucent, like you're describing, which is a really cool look.
Indeed. And how, as our gang would say. So anyways, Jared.
Yes. So I picked up I've been looking at these for a long time. Not a super long time, but I picked up
like a medium long time?
A medium long time. And Electro Harmonics Mel 9. And what it is it's the Mellotron organ effects pedal.
Oh, yeah.
Those are still pricey.
Simple, easy. You can get a used one for a little over 200, but the new ones are around 260 something.
I thought they were more than that.
Yeah.
No, they're down to, you can get a new one for around $260 some dollars.
Wow, actually, it's 179.
Oh,
one's down to 179. Everybody, go get that.
Buy it.
Yeah,
Buy it now.
But it's like $100.
You plug your
shipping,
guitar in, and you would think it's really choppy and really difficult to use, but all you do is plug it in, and you can strum a chord, and it will play the Mellotron. There's a little gremlin inside the pedal with a miniature Mellotron, and it plays what you play.
Now, explain, first of all, orchestra, cello, strings, flute, clarinet, saxophone, brass, low choir, and high choir. We met the creator of the Mel 9 at NAMM. Why don't you tell everybody what the Mellotron is?
So the Mellotron is basically, it's a giant tape player, and it has several audio tapes. I think they're tape strips, and they just hang down inside. And when you press the key on the keyboard, it plays the effect that you have the Mellotron on. So it'll play an audio sound. I have to see if I can explain this right. It'll play the tape of the instrument you have selected on the Mellotron. It's a recorded instrument,
like a violin,
put on a tape, and
or so a choir.
Exactly.
Or an orchestra, cello, strings, flute, clarinet, saxophone, brass, low choir, or high choir.
So this is not to interrupt, but I will.
Go ahead. You explain
Todd,
this stuff better.
Well, no, Todd said, "Oh, it's a loop." No, it's not a loop. It is a strip of tape.
Okay.
And the reason
tape that hangs down
because it has a weight at the bottom, and if you play it for too long, it actually runs out of tape, and has to retract it back up.
Really?
Yes. So
I did not know that.
Yes. So there you go.
Well, famously used on
everything.
Well, super famously used on Strawberry Fields.
Oh yeah, that was one of them. And
John Paul Jones used it.
The opening to Bungalow Bill is actually the very first key on a Mellotron.
Interesting.
It sounds like a classical guitar thing.
Yeah, there's actually a I think, is it a YouTube short or I think it was a YouTube short of, let's see, was it? It was Paul McCartney. I'm trying to think if it was like a rig rundown or something like that. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he was showing he was standing right next to the Mellotron that was used in Abbey Road. He
also has the bells or the chimes that were in Abbey Road studio.
And he was just explaining it in a perfect way to understand. Much better than we're doing right now. But anyways, it was cool to meet the guy who actually made the thing. That was really neat.
We met the guy, and then I kind of wanted to own a real Mellotron after that, but they're somewhat unattainable and unaffordable.
They had it there, and we all kind of got to check it out.
Slobbering over it, but this pedal is the very next best thing. So I got super excited about it. There's another pedal that I bought that we'll talk about in a little bit that I got excited about too. But
you mean next time? By a little bit?
No, here in a little bit.
What? So save it for the next one. We got a show to do, my friend.
It's going to be in the show, silly.
We'll talk about it then.
Exactly. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Okay.
Let's get to the show.
Yeah.
Todd, what about you?
Well, I had, I'll keep it short. I had a show this week. It was really, really fun. Lots of new faces in the crowd. And actually, I was talking about this to this gentleman who came with a friend of mine, and he was asking about the guitar that I play. I get a lot of inquiries about the Vinny, which is the guitar that I designed with Chase Gullett, and he built the whole thing for me. And so I said, well, hey, come up and take a look at it. And so went up on the stage and checked out and looked at all the details and everything. And we started talking about that. And I said, it seems like you like guitars. You should listen. He goes, I've been listening since the very first episode. And I was like, what? So Jeremiah, thank you for chatting with me. And it was really great to meet you. And he didn't lead with that one, which was I felt a little embarrassed, but that's okay. It was great to meet somebody, and yeah, he knows the show really well.
Oh, cool.
So I'm sure he's gonna love this one. So thank you, Jeremiah, and we'll see you around. All righty. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a great guitar or a real Mel 9. Next to it is probably a box of Tour Gear Designs patch cables.
Why wouldn't
That's
you?
right.
I mean, why not, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I was testing out these pedals,
Yes.
I had my box of Tour Gear Design patch cables.
It's an essential.
Yeah, it's like you just pull them out of the box.
Yep.
You find the right size. Sometimes you have to go from an S shape
To a C,
or a C,
to an S.
I found
top
a
to the
couple
bottom,
extra
bottom to the
in
top.
drawer.
I love them. But what's really good about these, Todd?
Well, let's ask Jared.
Jared?
Well, they have the very small area where you plug it into the pedal. See, I'm not good at this.
You're
Right.
a natural.
Well, the other
You're
thing
a
is-
natural. Keep going, Jared. Keep
Yeah.
going.
They got the thing where it fits anywhere on the pedal.
Yeah, it's great. They're fantastic cables. Check them out. TourGearDesigns.com. And when you're there and you load up your cart, because you will.
Yep.
And
thing
almost,
to do.
I'd say what, like 75% of the people we've had on the show use those.
Yeah, I would say that's probably because they've been listening to the show.
It makes it more fun to rearrange your pedal board. Honestly, it does. It's great fun to do that.
Yeah.
Always clean.
When you load them up, use the guitar knobs,
All lowercase,
all
all one
lowercase,
word.
all one word, and you're going to save 10% on your order.
10%!
That is correct. And it's worth it. So, thank you to Tour Gear Designs for sponsoring our Four on the Floor. Jared?
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3.
Four on the Floor. All right. Andon Whitehorn from Lantern Manufacturing. What is your Four on the Floor?
All right, so I've got two lists, and it depends on if I'm playing in a band that has, another guitarist or bassist, and obviously a drummer as well, or if it's me and just a drummer. So whether it's, like a 3 or 4 piece or just a 2 piece. There are similarities between them, though, if I may. So first, if I am doing like a full band kind of thing, the Boss DD20, the Giga Delay. I've had it for, I don't know, a million years, and it just does everything right. There's just nothing wrong about it when it comes to delay stuff. Everything sounds great. You can do things by milliseconds or BPMs, depending, so depending on if you're, say you're recording something and you're recording like a click track or like this tempo is like 137 BPM. You can set your delays to 137 BPM as opposed to like milliseconds and just like really like hammer it in. It also has like a bunch of other like fun effects. You can do presets and stuff like that as well. So I really enjoy that.
And that's one of those nifty dual pedal, literally.
It's a dual pedal.
pedals.
Yeah, so it takes up a good amount of real estate. I'm looking at it right now. I actually pulled these out, so I'm looking at them on my desk right now.
Yeah.
And it's like the size of like 3 guitar pedals.
Yeah.
But
But it does so much.
It does so much. They're like $200 now, maybe less. or whatever.
120.
120.
Yeah, 120. And we're looking at one that is got some love on it, which is really cool. And they're just there's a almost like a rudimentary design to it. It's like industrial almost, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah, it's I mean the actual foot switches on them, like I'm pushing them right now on my desk, and they are like the Boss foot switches are already like decently sturdy. These are like heavy. Like they're worth it. And then like if you push them both down at the same time for like a few seconds, you can switch into like tap tempo mode. Also, it's got like the tap and tempo buttons on it under the LCD screen. And if you click both of those, it turns on like a backlight, so you can actually see if you're playing like a dark, club or something like that for a gig.
It's like Mike Trombley designed these.
Yeah, right. It's very clever. Like it's just it's an intuitive thing to use. Like everything just kind of makes sense on it.
Very cool. Yeah, and they look cool. There's an old school cool to it.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for like 20 years at this point or something like that, I think. And they're still just as usable as they were then. Like, I think now they have like the DD500 and such like that. And
I think the DD200 is the new version of that, I believe.
Of this? Yeah. And it looks sleek. It's like smaller footprint, but it's
oddly more intimidating, I think.
There's so much you can do with it. It just seems like there's almost like a option paralysis.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that next would be either there. This is an Ibanez, and it can go either way. It is the CF7, which is their coarse flanger design from their Tone Lock series that they did in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep. Those are the gray ones that are not particularly good looking.
Not particularly good looking, but they were sturdy. Like they had those the pots that you could actually like push down.
Yeah.
Like you could like recess them so you didn't actually like step on them.
It was really smart.
Yeah, it was clever. So it's either that or the Ibanez SC10, which is their stereo course from their like super line in the 80s. Which has like a beautiful like aesthetic. We'll actually do stereo out. I think it's just mono in. Looking at it,
the 10 series is coveted.
The 10 series, exactly. Yeah. The foot switches, I'm pushing it right now. It's pretty soft, but it is beautiful insofar as color and everything.
It's an oddity factor it's oddity cool.
Yeah. It just sounds good too.
Yeah, that's the one. If everybody's like going, well, what do you mean oddity? It has the off-center foot switch, the foot pad, like the black giant rubber thing.
Yeah, it's on the right, and there's like almost like a 3/4 inch or whatever of just metal like on the other side of it, and then there's a button you can push on the side to like pop open.
Yeah, with like the sound console, the audio console style knobs on it, Yeah. Kind of weird. Anyways, neato. What's number 3?
Number 3 is, I kind of went back and forth on this one. The Zoom MS70 CDR. Seems kind of like a cheat because it's like a bunch of pedals. It's like a programmable pedal kind of thing. But you can do...
The Zoom what? That was a lot of math right there.
Yeah, the Zoom MS-70 CDR. It's a chorus delay reverb pedal, but you can like plug it in and like through USB like edit your own patches and things like that. So you could, if you wanted to have like a soft focus patch, you could do that. A bunch of other things. I bought this one used for like $70 and it had like a broken foot switch that I repaired, but I really should have probably just spent the extra $30 and got like a newish one.
It's like a toggle foot switch.
Yeah.
It?
Well, they have like the buttons. You can there's like 3 buttons above the foot switch, and you can push those down and turn them. But like you can essentially just
like the Simon set. Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was a toggle. It's sort of like, think about the old game Simon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so you're right. Yeah. And so on the around the foot switch are actually 4 buttons you can push.
Yeah.
Insofar as like how you want the effect to be like stacked.
Man, does that come with a bottle of aspirin? Gee, many Christmas.
Man, I feel like it should. This is something I've only like really, I've had it for several years, but I've only like really kind of scratched the surface of it. But like there's an active like subreddit for this pedal, like with patches. There's a program. There's like a.
It's like if you had a Game Boy and you could never play. That's what this.
Essentially, yeah. But you can chain a bunch of stuff in it, and it's really cool to get those kind of effects. So that's one of them. And the last one would either be, I'm a sucker for like a rat style effect. And if it can't be one of mine, which I just have one, it would be either the Line 6 DM4, which is like the distortion modeler, the gold one that you could do a bunch of like different style of distortions on it. Like you could like scroll through them or whatever. Which was actually the impetus for.
I just want it because it's gold.
It's gold. It's nice. I still have it. I have a foot switch like knocked out of it that I've just like covered over with like duct tape. When I first got it, I found a setting I liked and set every preset to that same setting. So like, because I was just moving from bass to guitar, and so I was like, okay, if I step on it, it'll be the same regardless or whatever.
Sure.
And then years later, I revisited it, and I was like, why does this sound so good? And I was like, oh, it's the classic distortion. I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's based on a rat. But
the
it
most
had
complex rat pedal ever designed.
But it had a 3-band EQ, and I was like, this is why it sounds so good, because I also had a rat. I had a rat for years at that point
instead of just a cut.
Yeah, but you could like tone shape it, and that is kind of what led to like the Sycamore and other things. So it'd either be the Line 6 DM4 or the Feral Plus, which is another like rat variant.
The what?
The Feral Plus.
FERREL.
FERAL.
FERAL plus.
Plus from Dead Air Studios. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like the Sycamore that I do is like a rat with a 3-band EQ, and the Feral Plus is like a rat with all the clipping options you could want. A bunch more parameters as well. Like I have. I'm looking at it. I can't reach it, but I'm looking at it. But it has just a ton you can do with it.
You know what? I'm not familiar with Dead Air. Interesting. Okay, so that's good. We got a new pedal thing that we're not familiar with.
I think I might like him. The person that puts them together, Will, has been in a lot of influential bands for me.
Okay.
Growing up, he's actually mixed a lot of records that I've done over the years.
Like what?
Like that. So, or rather, mastered. But most bands I've been in the last almost like 20ish years, Partners, Cedars, I think he did Hydra, a bunch of other stuff. But so he makes a very cool rat, and if it couldn't be one of mine or the DM4, it would be that.
He's got all kinds of pedals. This is great. I love it. We'll get him on the show.
Yeah, he does incredible stuff.
Dead Air.
Like, he focuses mainly on, for the time being, like on gain style effects, and then also he has a line called the why am I blanking on them? I have them. Let me look at them. The generator is what he calls them, and they're like oscillator effects for like noises and
generator
things like that.
5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, he's about. I think he just put out like 8 or 9 or something.
Jiminy Christmas. That's. See, I love. We don't know everybody out there. So if everybody's like, dude, how do you not know that? There's a lot of people out there.
There's a lot of people.
We're still collecting everybody. We're like one of those big giant tractors that comes through on the beach, at like 4 and 5 and 6 in the morning, and they scoop up all the garbage out of the beach. We're like that. Slow and steady wins a race.
That's how it goes.
Anyways,
if you look him up on Discogs, Will Killingsworth, like you'll find a ton of stuff that he's like mixed, mastered, recorded, etc. or whatever. But really cool dude. Yeah.
The Tube Nightmare. That sounds cool.
Tube Nightmare is really cool. It's a 6-knob tube screamer, which was another that was going to be one of my other 4 on the floors. Was a TS9 into an MXR double shot.
This turned into an 8 on the floor, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. But like a TS9 into an MXR double shot, which I always use them together because the MXR double shot had a 3-band EQ. So I always use that to kind of like shape the tone. So that was that. All of that was if I were in like a full band. 2-piece band is essentially the same, but I would use a micropog for fake bass. Like in a separate like stack. And then maybe an op-amp Big Muff. And essentially any of those other things. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a lot of pedals, everybody. So that's great. That's fun.
12 on the floor.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, well, hopefully you've logged all that, everyone, and you got some new things to check out. And I think all of those were new to the show. I don't think we've covered any of those up to this point, Tony.
I don't believe so. I was just going to comment that all of those were rather unique.
Which is what the joy of doing this segment
is. The joy.
But
the agony and the ecstasy.
The bigger joy. Jared, you want to throw in some adjectives on how big of a joy this is?
I don't know. It's huge. It's
Giga joy.
It's giant. It's just gargantuous.
It's a really big, nice joy.
Super giant ass.
Sure.
I don't know.
All right, let's get on with our interview. We need to find out a little bit more, actually a lot bit more, besides pedals, from Andon Whitehorn. Now, Andon, I think the elephant in the room is Andon Whitehorn. That is a very unique name. Okay, what's the background on that?
So my first name is Christopher. Middle name is Andon. So I go by that. My parents have always called me that.
Okay.
I've asked them about the background on it. Like the name exists in other like cultures and things like that.
Sounds like an Appalachian name or something.
It's like Eastern, like European, if you look it up or whatever.
Well, by way of Appalachia.
By way of Appalachia, yeah. So mountains, basically, mountainous regions.
It could have been Landon, but they couldn't pronounce the L.
That's actually that goes back. I'll tell you about that here in a second.
Yeah.
But like, I asked him, and they was like, "Oh yeah, we just thought it sounded cool," and not knowing that I would have to explain this name through grade school,
right? And Whitehorn too. That's not a common one.
No, it's I am a good part Choctaw, so that is where that comes in. Insofar as my understanding, but with the Andon thing, I didn't learn until like after high school. I was like, I can just say it's like Brandon without the B and the R, and that's just that much easier. But like before that, it would be like, "What's your name?" Like Andon. They're like Andrew, like Andon, Andy, Andon, Anton, or it just took a lot of work to get to where I am.
Yeah, so you stuck with it. Instead of going to Chris.
Yeah. That was, instead of going with Chris.
We see how your decision process works.
Just call me Chris.
Yeah. My parents are like, well, there's a lot of Chris's, and we like Chris, but we want to stick with that. But we wanted to give you another name, and then that's what happened. So,
well, there you go.
But
at least they didn't name you Amy. That would have been even more confusing, I suppose.
I would have had to explain a little bit more. Yeah. But Andon is also... In Japanese, it's the word for a four-walled, like a paper lantern, like those that you see, like maybe like standing around or whatever. Like it's like a style of lighting. It's also a style of like a system for like procedure in like factories and things like that, where if it's like green light's good, like red light is stop, yellow light, whatever. But that's where the name lantern manufacturing comes from, is just because it's another meaning or another like word from a name, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you're in a lot of different Reddit groups.
Well, not as many as I'd like.
I'm just painting a picture.
Yeah.
That's
I have been on there for like 15 years.
Well, you've sent us the White Oak pedal, which is a dual fuzz. And
with a blend.
With the blend. That's the thing. Blend. Yeah. So I've mentioned before, I do like a blend knob. I admittedly was a little, I guess I almost said no when I saw dual fuzz, because I've played a couple dual fuzzes before, and it's just sort of, it's just a big mush kind of thing.
Sure.
That can happen.
It's very fair.
But the way that you were describing it and the way that I heard the sound clips, I was like, wait a minute. Hey now, I think this could produce some pretty cool sounds. So you sent us the White Oak, and we checked it out. And Tony?
Yes?
You have your rig. What'd you run this through, and what'd you think?
I was running a Les Paul Jr., with a P90 into my Vox AC30 or AC15.
Where do you have a Les Paul Jr.?
I've got more guitars than you know.
Hey, sheesh.
Yeah, it's a Les Paul Jr.
Okay.
TV.
Hey,
Yeah.
all right.
And I like
Through an
using
AC30 hand wired.
AC15.
Oh, 15.
15 hand wired.
Okay.
And this, I'll be a self-admitted non-fan of most fuzzes. But what I did like about this is that the blend knob really, I think it gave it a little more dimension or a little more fine tunability. I'm assuming that each of the channels has a different, maybe one's a germanium and one is silicon.
Well, I bet he's going to tell us all about that.
Maybe you can tell us about that.
Just go on with your description. He'll color the pages
now,
later.
What I like to do now, some people like to turn their fuzzes all the way up, and to me, it just starts to turn to mush. In my particular, one of my test modes when I'm testing a fuzz is I'll roll the tone all the way off, and then just see what kind of buzzy sounds I can make with it.
The tone on your guitar?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So that kind of just gives it that certain tonality.
Yeah.
But I like that yours has tone controls for both channels.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's not necessarily. I don't believe it's stacked. So in other words, channel 1 doesn't cascade into channel 2.
He's going to tell us all about it.
Okay, Todd. Let me just tell you about your pedal. Here's how it works. No, I mean, I think it was enjoyable. Again, I'm not a huge fuzz fan, but I think for people that do like fuzzes, I think this could be a really nice addition to their collection.
Well, thank you.
Well put, Tony.
Yeah, so the White Oak is a dual parallel fuzz. So it's two separate fuzzes, two separate styles of fuzzes, and two separate tone stacks with them.
Okay, Tony, you get a star.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured that's what it was.
Yeah. So on the left side is like a square wave comparator kind of fuzz. So like a Velcro-y kind of like style fuzz, like just like can almost get gated on the settings depending on how you have it.
Yep.
And then the tone stack on that side, on the left side, is like a big muff tone stack where it's like on the left is more bass and on the right is more treble. Mm-hmm. But usually in a big muff in the mid section, like in the middle, there's like a mid scoop. So this one actually has like a slight mid hump because I think just like fuzzes tend to get lost in the mix if there's not like the mid to actually push them through. It's like they sound good by themselves and then you're playing with a band and you turn it on and you're like just disappear.
That's why I honestly don't understand. People love the big muff, and I'm like, it's just not one of those things that equates to me. I'm like, it doesn't, for that same reason.
Yeah. And then, so conversely, like with that, on the right side is like an op amp style big muff, if you will. Just because I prefer like the sounds of op amp clipping. And then like silicon as well. Like I have yet to actually use any like germanium diodes for clipping. I'm not against them, but it's something I just like. It's a sound I've kind of liked, so I've kind of just like gravitated towards. So the right.
So both sides are op amp.
Both sides are op amp, but both sides are like separate styles.
Okay.
Of like the fuzzing. So yeah, like the left side is like a comparator style, to where it is like really like riding on like the
sputtery Velcro.
Sputtery Velcro. If you do it right, you'd have to really kind of starve the voltage, which you not necessarily like can't with it. But like the actual like the gain knob actually controls like how much voltage is going into the op amp on that side. Okay. And then the right side, like I said, it's like an op amp big muff, but the tone stack in it is just something weird that I had found when I was breadboarding. And I'm sure it's been done before, but basically where if you have it all the way counterclockwise, it's like a very thin, thrashy, like trashy kind of sound. Like, and then as you turn it up, it gets like super burly. So it almost like isolates a mid frequency and then opens everything else up as you turn it.
Yeah.
Clockwise.
I tended to stay on the right side of things.
Yeah.
With that
and
one.
And then like the blend between, I tried to get them both as like even on output level as possible. And then like the blend would actually allow you to, again, like blend between those two different like style of fuzzes. And then there's like an output volume for overall just gain, I guess.
Yeah. So really cool and very well made, nicely done. You had, I think, intriguing packaging. You've got a white oak leaf in there, which is kind of neato.
Yep.
And it was just it was a nice presentation too.
Thank you. Yeah, all the pedals I put out, I have the when you get them, like if you order a sycamore, it comes with a sycamore leaf. If you order a white oak, it comes with a white oak leaf. Rowan comes with rowan leaves. Meadow sweet.
I hope you don't make a poison ivy.
But, yeah, well, that's the next one actually. You're gonna love it. But yeah, it also just depends. Like in the winter, like none of that stuff grows, obviously, so I can't package them. But like in the spring, summer, fall, like if I have them, I'll put them in.
You got to get them and freeze them. That's the ticket, man.
I have a lot of them in the fridge. They last a surprisingly long time in the fridge.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, so that's one pedal. I know Jared is literally chewing his face off to talk about something else, but we're gonna get to that one in a second. It can't be all pedals all the time. We want to find out a little bit more about what you're doing over there at Lantern, what your sort of take on pedals is, and how you got into it. Just out of curiosity, stylistically, where do you sit in the music world? What is your musical influences that might have edged you to where we are at right now?
I would say, like band-wise, active influences are Jawbreaker, a band called Stop It, which is actually from where I live right now. They're from Richmond, Virginia. I played a show with them like 20 years ago, and it was kind of like a life-changing thing. It was like, man, like there can be bands like this, and I was like, that's awesome. And then another band called Capsule, which is out of like Gainesville, Florida. But other than that, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, one of my favorite bands of all time is Queen.
Oh yeah.
I have a Freddie Mercury tattoo on my thigh. Love that. I was big into Mahavishnu
It says
Orchestra.
Freddie Mercury, like in really big letters.
No, it's his face from the Hot Space album cover.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, just like the silhouette or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, big into them, big into like Mahavishnu Orchestra. Yep. A little silhouette of a man on my thigh.
Scaramouche, Scaramouche.
That's right.
Okay, Tony, we know how the song goes. Sheesh.
Thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening.
So
Finish it.
I appreciate that whenever they did that song live after it came out,
Yeah.
they left the stage and let like a video projector play that part because they're like, we're never going to do that again. Like we're never going to hit that. And so we're going to let this video do it. And then they come in for like the rock and outro.
Yeah.
That's like, credit over credit too. That's knowing your limits and being like, we can't do this again. So
Fair play.
Here's what it is,
Fair play. I do that whenever I solo. I just leave the stage and let people imagine it.
Play a loop.
I thought you played so low that no one could hear you.
Yeah. Well done. So when you are, let's get to maybe, I always love to find out how people stumbled into music. What was the first, I guess, musical thing that happened where you said, oh man, I love this. Give me more.
Like listening to it, playing it.
Yep. Probably listening.
Man, my mom was a show choir singer, I think it was. I can't remember what exactly it was called in high school.
We all imagined 1,000 different things when you say, my mom is, and then we're like, she's a tuba, like
she's a tuba, she's a microphone, she's an elephant.
Yeah, she played a BC Rich, I don't know what.
Yes, she is BC Rich.
She was in the Runaways.
Yes.
Yeah. My mom was Pat Benatar. But no, my mom was a incredible singer, and so like in high school, and then carried that through obviously whenever like we were younger kids, and so she was always singing. So some of my earliest memories are like remembering like when the Beach Boys did Kokomo.
Oh yeah.
Like that is like a memory that is like burned into like my brain, just like in the back of an '89 Nissan Sentra, driving around, my mom just belting out Kokomo and like note for note just killing it.
I would like to go on the record as saying that is possibly the worst Beach Boys song ever.
It's not really the Beach Boys.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brian Wilson wasn't even there at the time.
No,
Huge.
no, Mike Love, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
Yeah.
But continue with your song. I'm sure your mom did a wonderful rendition.
Yeah.
She did. She did a great job on that. My dad was also a musician. He played bass. And yeah,
Cool.
I'm just sit in the backseat of a car listening to music, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
cool.
Was there any particular guitar-related band that made you start to feel like you wanted to play guitar?
Jawbreaker was probably the first one. I saw them in '96. It was like a Rock the Vote tour, and they were playing with like Foo Fighters and Ween, and some other bands depending on like where they were in the country. But like the only show they ever played in Oklahoma at the time, it was like in '96, was in Tulsa. So I drove up to see that because a friend had gone to see Foo Fighters, so I was there for that. And kind of just like changed my life musically. Like I'd listened to music for a few years as a young kid or whatever.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just like enamored with bass playing. So I saved up, bought a kind of like a kit to make a bass. I still have it. It was like a Squier Affinity.
You never made it?
No, I made it,
okay.
but it's like I still have the finished thing is basically.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was like it's a Fender neck, a Squier Affinity like bass body, and then I just kind of like did stuff from there. But it was like it has like it's like half precision, half jazz bass, and the neck is still warped, even though like I fix it every year. It's still just like the action's way too high. But I have it, and I'm staring at it. So yeah,
It's keepsake.
it's a keepsake.
Now, are you a pick bass player or a finger bass player?
I'm a pick bass player unless I'm playing like a 3-string chord, which I'm a big fan of bass chords. In which case I'll strum it, or if it's like a chill part, I'll like pick it with my hands. I never got really good at playing bass with fingers or like slap bass or things like that, but as I've gotten older, I've really come into like enjoying like the sound of like boogie funk and like city pop style bass, where it's just like almost aggressive bass tone. But it just all comes from like just like slap bass essentially. Like you hear it and you're like, what are they playing? And you look it up and you find the artist or whatever, and you're like, oh, they're just playing
Wolfpack?
It just like maybe like you look it up and you find out that it's like it's a bass into an amp, and it's just the way they're playing it. It's just like giving this like aggressive like tone to it.
Cool.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
Now, is there a particular bassist that you styled yourself after?
That would be, whenever I was starting out, it was Chris Bauermeister from Jawbreaker, because he played like bass chords. They said at the time, like he kind of almost played like lead bass on some things.
Got it.
But just really interesting sounding. I don't know, just progressions. Yeah. Like the guitar was always like super interesting. And then like the bass underneath it was almost just kind of like carrying the story. As if like carrying the song along, kind of just like almost like a narrative bass line, if you will.
Yeah, like an anti-bass.
Yeah.
I get it. I dig it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you and your pedals. Are you just electronically adept, or did you do some learnings, or what?
I did no learnings, but I always kind of like I always had a soldering iron, so I always tried to like fix patch cables and things like that whenever there's like a loose connection as best I could. Like if I opened it up and didn't know what I was looking at, I would just like move on and be like, well, I'm gonna fix this in 10 years or whatever, and that's still sitting in a box somewhere. I've just carried it with me. Yeah.
At some point in time, you decided I need to make pedals with my limited use of soldering. So how do you? That's a big puddle to jump into.
Yeah. Well, at first I was looking at just like whenever I discovered like I was like, why is the classic distortion on the DM4 sound so good? And I was like, oh, it's because it's a Rat with a 3-band EQ. So I started looking at boutique guitar pedals, so just like any guitar pedals like that you could search for that were actually like Rats with 3-band EQs. And I found some, but they weren't being made anymore, and they were going for like $300 on the secondhand market. So I was like, well, I could like, maybe build this or whatever. And then of course I spent a lot more money diving into like building this thing. And then that kind of just snowballed into building pedals.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, when you started making these, we have the overwhelming majority of people that we have on that are building, especially pedals, are like, I had no idea what I was doing. What are some of the things, we have a lot of builders of all stages that are listening, home builders, musical people that like to just tinker and do all the things, and of course loads of full-time builders like yourself. What is one of the things that you would pass on as advice, starting out advice? Or just some really cool trick that you're like, you know what, this thing is this is the ticket.
I mean, the internet exists. It is there for us to learn from, and pretty much any question you have is probably been asked by someone else. It's not often that you find something that is a truly unique situation, or at least not like applicable to what you're doing. So Googling that, there's a lot of resources online for that. There's like DIY stomp boxes, there's free stomp boxes. There's some subreddits for it that might be decent, depending on how you lean. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all out there, and there's Discord channels as well, Instagram, all that stuff. So basically, just like don't be afraid to reach out, ask people questions, because they were all where you are or where I was, what have you, mm-hmm. At one point. So, No. If anyone's seen farther, it's because they've stood on the shoulders of giants, is the saying, I think.
Yes, I love that saying. Right?
Yeah.
And it's so applicable in life. It's there for us. Let's talk about what are some of the choices that you've made in your pedals. You've got 4 in your lineup currently, correct?
Yeah, and I've got a few more I'm trying to get out in the next 6 months or so.
Okay.
So I'm switching to this full time. They're all kind of centered around like some like key components or key like blocks of circuits.
Okay.
But all of my stuff is done essentially with conventional like parts that you could like basically find decently like readily accessible, like the Meadow Suite, which is a dimensional chorus. It uses like 4 chorus lines. That is based on the PT2399 delay chip. It's like an echo delay chip. Not really meant for chorus, but if you treat it right, you can use it as such for like a higher, longer chorus kind of thing.
Okay.
But like all of that stuff is out there, and so like basically what I'm trying to do is like try and find ways to either replicate or not even replicate, but like play along with effects that are out there right now, because like DSP is like a very big thing when it comes to pedals and like programming microprocessors and like having things be just so, and that, which is like incredible. And like I love all the effects that people are doing with these. Like there's a lot of companies right now that do things that are like, like that have like an analog audio
Native
pack.
Audio does that.
Like native, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
A lot, like Chase Bliss does that as well. A lot of other places do too, where it's like a analog audio path, but like the digital like control of it all.
Right.
To where it's like everything is like, as you want it, but you can do things that you normally couldn't do.
Sure.
With it. And my idea is to just try and find old chipsets or like ICs or things like that can maybe do those things from back in the day and like applying them in novel ways to do such. Like I just recently found a way to do like a shimmer reverb, which is very much a DSP process where it's like the back of the reverb just like is an octave up, so it gets an octave up and an octave up and an octave up as it feeds back. And I found a chipset that I could do that actually does like pitch shifting in real time with no lag or things like that, which is I guess technically also DSP, but it's from the 80s, you know what I mean? But it's like a 16 pin chip you can just like plug in. So I have a lot of fun and enjoyment in finding those things that may have been used for like one effects, and then you can maybe like see like, well, if I can suss it out, what can I really do with it? So
now I'm getting kind of a vibe based on some of your pedal choices and even how you went into specifically the first circuit where you're like, whoa, I really like this. Can I do it? Which was the rat setting on the line 6 pedal, which is your Sycamore pedal, which is I think the one that Jared got.
No, I got the Rowan.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. So
by Sycamore, he meant
Sycamore, Rowan. Yeah. So I'm trying to paint a picture of like what can people expect from Lantern as sort of a general entry. Most pedal builders kind of figure out a way like this is my island,
Sure.
And what I actually really like about that, especially the story where you have the Sycamore, which is essentially that setting, but just in a single pedal. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean that was basically, I was like, why is this pedal, or why does this sound so good? Figure out why it is, and it's like, okay, how do I make this, a single pedal instead of like the space of like 3 or 4 pedals that the DM4 would take up.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the Sycamore, you've got a 3-band EQ, which I think that is one thing. There's obviously we all the love for the Rat is out there, and there's so many variations, and that's okay. Make as many variations as everybody wants because we'll still want them. But I can't recall necessarily seeing a 3-band EQ one. It's usually people stay with the cut because that's kind of like the Rat thing. So this is very intriguing to me, and I don't know that I would have picked up on that without that story, which is really, that kind of helps me into this.
Sure. I had seen a couple of boutique builders that were making Rats with 3-band EQs. But most of the time it was just like a Rat with like clipping options or like the Roots mod or things like that, or Roots, however you pronounce that. But with this, it just seemed like it just opened it up so much more because like the Rat itself just sounds, it's a classic sounding pedal,
right?
As line 6 like labeled it on the DM4. It's just classic distortion. It's a Rat,
right?
But the fact that you can just like adjust it a little more, just really kind of just, I don't know, tailors it, and then like with it you can do so much. Like there's like with the Sycamore, for example, like if you were to kill like the distortion, like turn the gain all the way down, volume all the way up, you can use it as like a 3-band active EQ. But you can also just like tailor it just right to where you have like a very like low gain Rat sound, which gives you a very like Midwest, emo Midwest,
Sure.
indie, whatever kind of sound, where it's just like it's a very tailored effect. It almost sounds like it's like an amp on the edge of breakup. And if you're playing like a solid state and you don't have like the fact that you can actually, push the tubes into like breakup territory, that can be something useful.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing I also like, these are affordable pedals, but not into the land of like, these are cheap pedals. They're not. They don't feel like it. They don't play like it. But they're not, they're accessibly priced. All right, Jared, you picked up a Rowan, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I got one of those. I listened to a demo online, and I am in love with, like, for instance, I'm an 80s kid, grew up in the early 80s, so VCRs. And I don't know if anybody remembers the Viacom little jingle before or after a movie. And it has like this deteriorating sound. Like I like deteriorating audio on a VCR tape. And with that pedal, you can get a lot of sounds out of. So I have so far. It's a great flanger. You can add like a fuzz to it. If I'm not mistaken, right, that is a type of fuzz.
You mean the push one?
Yeah, the push.
Yeah, there's a knob for push.
Oh, it's a push. I don't necessarily use that. I try to get that a nice clean. But when it just starts to deteriorate a little bit, when I say deteriorate, it just kind of sounds flubby, and it's, you know what I mean. I love that sound. It reminds me of the early 80s audio technology with videotape that has been recorded over and over and over and over again. So I don't know. I just love that sound. That pedal does it. And when I got it, I ripped the thing open, plugged it in, and immediately turned on a couple of different YouTube videos and watched where the dials went. And it's really, really easy to use. All you have to do is cue into a video and listen to someone else use it. If you don't want to try to find the thing yourself, it's a lot of fun to use, and I get a lot of use out of it.
Cool.
That's been my experience so far.
Can you enlighten us a little bit more about the Rowan? It's got a ton of effects. So this isn't your average flanger. Flanders?
No.
Oakley dokley. This isn't your typical
Nothing
flanger.
at all.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. It goes to me, and let me add this one more thing. It just
Sure.
You can use the knobs to just go beyond what a flanger does. That's what I love about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the like the delayed chipset that's used in that was meant for basically like coarse and above kind of things. But if you treat it just right, you can kind of get like some like flange sounds out of it. So it's kind of like a high flanger in that respects, but it will do all of that stuff. So the idea with the flanger was I never really wanted to do a flanger, and I was almost kind of dared to do it again by Will from Dead Air. I had like just picked up like BF2 from Boss. It was, which didn't work, and now it does work, thankfully. But like, I like appreciated like the sound of like flange, like, it had its place. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and put everything that you can get out of like any other flanger pedal within reason into it. So it can do flange, it can do chorus, it can do kind of slapback echo sounds. It can do a reverb sound if you set it in the right parameters. Yeah. But you can also do inverted flanging. There's an invert knob to invert the modulated signal. And then there is a foot switch to engage the like zero mode, I guess, which basically takes your dry signal and puts it through a delay that's in time with the modulated delay signal. So you basically have through zero flanging. So if you're inverted, you'll hear the like choppy, like cutting out sound of like actual like flanging. And then if you don't, you'll have like this super lush sound almost of like tape flanging kind of, if you will. But it also has like a push knob on it, which is actually funny enough, a set gain rat style circuit that just like you can blend in, because like flangers love harmonic content, or they love like gain before them to give them like harmonic content to like filter through and out. And so that's what gives you like those big like jet swoosh wavy sounds, is to have that kind of effect.
Jared, when we next time we connect, I gotta try that one out, because that one it sounds like a super versatile. I shouldn't say a versatile pedal. A versatile pedal says I can do whatever I make it what I think it needs to do.
Bring some time with you, because it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of effects on it.
But this feels like this is gonna open up things that you may not expect that you even know you want to do.
That's exactly right.
I dig it. So, Andon, it has been a delight learning about all of these pedals and your approach to things. It's really fun. I think you've got some great pedals out there, and I encourage people to go check them out. And you said you have a couple new ones that you're working on?
Yeah.
Do you want to leak any of that information, or just wait?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to do so. So I've got a pedal called the Verbena that I've been working on for a while, which the Verbena is going to be a reverb pedal. All of my pedals are named after plants or trees. The key to decode it is if it's a tree, it's a distortion style or like a gain style like pedal. So like white oak, sycamore, rowan, which is in like the rowan is in the rose family, which all coarse-esque pedals like the meadow sweet are in the rose family. So rowan is actually in the rose family. So is apple, peach, all of those things. So if it's a tree, it has some sort of like gain thing to it.
Okay.
And then anything else will be like modulation, which will be something you find in the garden, or something you can like forage. So like the meadow sweet, again, in the rose family, like rose being coarse, etc., like, you know, adjacent. The verbena will be a reverb pedal, which the name just makes sense. But it is a reverb pedal that will have a shimmer.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then I have a phaser that's going to be like a 12-stage phaser called the Marigold that'll be coming out. That'll be like a family of pedals. So will the verbena. And then other than that, I've got another pedal called the Black Pine that I'm working on. So white oak, black pine. Rather than a dual fuzz, it'll be a dual like distortion style pedal. So it'll probably be like kind of closer to like higher gain distortion that you can like blend between them.
That's all very, very intriguing. And I love, see, now you're opening up the story for us a little bit more, which I love. That's great. Yeah. Well, very cool. We will be looking for those. And do you have a newsletter that people can jump in on or anything like that?
Not at the moment. I need to get on that, actually. I need to do that, and I need to do like a mailing list. So
I guess that's what I meant. More of
exactly,
a mailing list.
So hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be putting something like that together. I've been putting it off, and I need to just do it. So. Well,
let's say, for instance, this will be out at that time. So go sign up for the mailing list, everybody, and you can get the news for that. All right. Well, we are going to fire up the old El Camino, Tony. And
hey, nice.
Yeah. Whoa, got a little water in the
carbon. I think there's some carbon.
Yeah,
carbon in there.
Some carbon in the carbonator.
Gotta blow out the carbon on the highway.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna swing by and pick up Jared, but we got a little bit of a detour because we're swinging over to Lantern because he has the good stuff for us. And
let me start him out.
Yes, go ahead, Jared.
Ladies and gentlemen, this part of the show is near and dear to my heart because I get to sing a little ditty that goes like this.
Ditty.
Would you rather?
Perfect.
Little pitchy dog.
Yeah. All
Now
right.
what are you gonna
Thank you, Jim Neighbors. All right. Let's see. Andon, you've got our Would You Rather today. Go ahead and hit us with it.
I think if this has been done before, we can do a clap out on this thing.
Okay.
So picture your dream guitar, whatever it happens to be, whoever's playing it, whatever you've seen, that's the guitar you've wanted forever. And then picture your guitar, instrument, bass, if you're playing bass, what have you, that you just hate, just looks terrible. There's no headstock dignity to it. Like, it just doesn't look good. Picture those two guitars.
Okay.
You can have your dream guitar, but it plays terribly. Like, it'll stay in tune for a song or so and then just falls out of tune. The intonation's off, action's not good. You know, it's scratchy pots, all of that. So you get a choice of that, and you can only play that, or a guitar style like body that you just hate. Maybe you're not a fan of BC Rich. Maybe you're not a fan of Telecasters. Whatever happens to be, whatever the instrument that you don't like playing, you have that choice. But it just is perfectly in tune. Never break a string, plays beautifully every time. So, dream guitar, but it plays terribly, or your most hated guitar or instrument.
for the biggest gig of your life.
Even for the biggest gig of your life. But it plays like a dream.
All right. I think that's doable. Consensus, judges? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Tanya Bolonsky is going to lead us off with this one. So give it to us.
Let me think. Well, I would say having a guitar that plays really well, in tune, doesn't go out of tune, is intonated properly, doesn't hurt your fingers when you play it, is probably more important than having a dream instrument. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. And my least favorite guitar of all time is a Gretsch TK300. Pull it up.
Look this up.
Pull it up.
TK300. That sounds awful. Yeah, that's ugly.
Oh, it's ugly. Look at the headstock.
I don't understand people liking those.
I'm trying to here. Give me. Let me look.
It literally looks like just a messed up hockey stick.
It's You could probably
That
play.
That is a disgusting guitar.
I mean, it makes that even
hell
the
yeah.
pickguard. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
That looks like an old like Tasco, however you pronounce it. That just like warped. And
We have
melted.
determined it's Tasco, like
Yes, like
Seiko.
Seiko.
It is Tasco. Okay.
Now
This goes back to a discussion that we talk about a decent amount on this vinyl trading forum I was talking about, where like a guitar may look cool, but if the headstock sucks, it just has no like dignity to it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, the body's great, but it has no headstock
Like the
dignity.
Burns
And-
guitars.
Exactly. And this is like this is something with zero headstock dignity.
Yeah, I also
insane.
have an issue with PRS guitars. That headstock, I've owned several PRSs, and the headstock, I can't take it.
I had for a while. I had a Schecter Diamond Series something or whatever. Because again, being left-handed, you can only get what you can get.
Right.
Looked terrible. Played like a damn dream though. It was incredible. It was the best playing guitar I think I've ever owned.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm. That's what I'm going to go with. I think that
TK300. That's
TK300. It's
All right.
Gretsch's grossest guitars.
All right.
And that's and as long as it plays well, hey, I'll make it work.
Perfect. All right. Let's see here. Go to Jared. Jared.
I'm trying to figure out what guitar I really don't like. It's not easy because this is super difficult.
What about
It's
an
actually-
Ovation breadwinner?
Those are actually nice guitars.
Yeah, okay.
I got my dad has an Ovation that I have now because he's gone. So I like those guitars too. I don't know what to do.
I guess.
How about a BC
I guess to
Rich?
pick one. What's that? What's the finish on the fenders that looks like old crack paint in it?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it like 6
my
years
gosh.
ago on a podcast. It's
I just
the
totally
ugly
blanked out.
green or cream color.
Antigua.
Antigua, yeah. So that would be. I like Fender. I love Fender. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it would be.
But you like Gibson better.
I'm more of a Gibson guy, but I love my Fenders. I really
Fair
love
enough.
my Fenders, and whether I worked at Gibson or not, which I do.
Okay.
If you would have asked, I would have said the exact same
Okay,
thing.
it's
Okay.
established. You're fine.
So
You're-
which model of the Antigua?
Yeah, so a Jaguar
Okay.
Antigua, because they you just don't get enough oomph out of the bridge in those, in my opinion. But if it played super well, I would probably just have to go with that because, if it's set up good, it's set up good. That's just the way it is, and that's what you would want to play at a gig, or else people are going to remember how terrible you sounded.
Well, there you go.
Ta-da!
All right. So you're going to have a good playing Antigua Fender.
Yeah.
I dig it. Okay.
I don't know if they made Jaguars. Maybe did not come in Antigua, but Jazz Masters probably did.
Okay. Well, some sort of Fender that just doesn't have enough oomph in the bridge with Antigua on it.
Okay. How about I know it would be great. A short scale Mustang for Jared in Antigua.
That's even better. What would I do without you, Balloon?
That's what we're going with. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a style of Fender offset that is like it's not a tornado, or maybe it's like a tornado or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in that family.
Tornado.
Yeah, exactly. It almost looks like that Gretsch TK300 we're talking about, where it's just like it's almost too offset, and it just does it like nothing just makes sense on it.
Yeah.
But Antigua, I do know, is actually the finish of the bass for the bassist of Jawbreaker, Chris Bauermeister. He had an Antigua bass from Fender. So
There you go.
Sorry, pal.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, Andon. So what is your choice?
I'm going to go, again, being left-handed and taking what I can get, I'm going to go with the guitar that looks terrible and plays great, because I have at one point owned a PB Tracer that I bought for like $250 that played incredibly with like a Floyd Rose like bridge.
I actually like those.
That you can actually no, the thing is I don't hate that, but what I'm saying is like if you're going into that area, yeah,
Those were American made, I think, weren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They were solid.
The heavy metal-y type.
Yeah, and you had to like tune on the actual like bridge, because you'd tune up and then like they'd lock it in and then you'd micro adjust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good choice.
All right.
What about Dudzik?
Well,
Strat?
yeah. So the one that I wouldn't want, especially, is
Todd, don't you want the rainbow of tone?
I don't. I don't. I want the. I believe it's the Strat.
The Strat.
The Strat with
I think
the
it
lock.
just says Strat on the printed Strat head on
with
the headstock.
with a locking nut.
Well, of
the
course
whole
you
net,
get. Of course you
all
gotta
that,
have that.
terrible stuff.
Yes.
So that would play beautifully, like David Gilmour himself would kiss that one goodnight before he goes to bed.
Have it. I have two of them.
Yeah, well, that's good.
They're
And in its place, I'm going to take an old basement find, an old Gibson Les Paul Jr. And it's probably gonna have a slightly warped neck. It's gonna have this one does. Tony's shaking his head. I'm just trying to make it sound beat up.
Okay.
It's gonna have scratchy
up,
pots.
rusty
It's
strings.
Big
I'll put nice
baseball-
strings on it.
Big baseball bat neck.
It's gonna be unruly, but I'll be able to rock it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you really rather have a Strat?
No. Anyways, that was a fun one. Thank you so much, Andon. I appreciate you coming through with the Would You Rather. We need to say a great big thank you to a handful of people.
Oh, yes, we do, Todd, because at this point of the show, we love to thank a special group of people. These are our executive producers. Now,
That's right.
An executive producer makes this show possible. How do you become one? You head over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs and check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron, a hero of the podcast. Each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts. But as an executive producer, there's one thing more. I'm wondering if Jared knows what that is.
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing, so that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers: Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, John Halverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mac D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemolero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterle, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Brazen, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk, Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, James Bell, James Romer, Cameron Pampas, David Tyndall, Trevor Ellenberg, and Christopher Logan.
Right on.
But wait, Todd, there's more, because
There's more.
we have a special group of executive producers. We call them our Grand Poobahs.
That's right.
And we're gonna name one of our Grand Poobahs an Uber Poobah.
An Uber Pooba.
An Uber Poobah.
Yeah.
So special thanks to these Grand Poobahs: Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups, Hex Matos, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. David Poe, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Congregation Gear Demos, Paul Van Eppinger, Von Eppinger, not Van Eppinger.
Right.
And we keep wanting to say Van Halen. Paul
Yeah.
Von.
German, not Dutch.
Yeah. Scott Sullivan, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups, Matt Hart, Enrico Fernando, and our Uber Poobah, Michio Murakisha.
Joe Murakishi coming in hot this week.
Woo!
All right. Thank you guys so much. As we always say, your contributions keep this moving. And we would encourage you, if you've been thinking about becoming part of this illustrious list, we would love to have you. And great gifts, ahoy. So we have more things we're going to be giving away very soon. And please do. I'll just say that. Now, let's see. Andon, we need to let people know where they can go get these wonderful pedals of yours.
You can find them online at Lantern MFG, as in MFG, short for manufacturing, .com. So lanternmfg.com, or on Instagram at Lantern Manufacturing.
Fantastic. Tony, how about yourself?
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the wares I have available. But by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, and I will take good care of you.
Fantastic. Make that guitar actually yours.
Yes.
Jared?
Send me a message, ask me questions, or just talk about your favorite guitars. Jared.allen.brandon on Instagram.
All right. You can shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com, or DM me, which is probably a better way to do it, on Instagram. And we would love to hear from you. Give us your Would You Rathers. Share the thoughts that you have on our recent episodes. And also, please go check out the Valentinos. We're about to drop more music, and we're hot, very hot, very hot. Yeah, moving and shaking.
Especially in Australia.
Yeah, and you can get it anywhere that you can stream the stuff. And also, go get yourself a stomper. If you've got yourself an HX stomp, protect those knobs and get a stomper. Go to flinteffects.com. All right, Andon, we need to say a ginormous thank you for joining us on our show tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Everybody go check Lantern Manufacturing out and have a fantastic week and subscribe.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a persimmon tree?
Oh, I love persimmons. Yeah.
So I had a persimmon tree.
Do it long enough, you can only keep up with your body so much, and then it starts to kind of fight you.
Yeah, I experienced that with my early jazzercise video career.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I love persimmons.
Well, Tony decided to join us.
Howdy.
He was waxing his thighs.
A persimmon tree.
And I think it was kind of like modeled off of the oh, there's Jared. What are you doing?
Two persimmon trees.
This technology on my Bluetooth like not working. No, boogie.
Persimmon tree or
That is my Mellotron.
You got
nice.
You got a Mellotron? Oh my gosh. Yes.
Polanski?
That was
Yes.
a fairly lame introduction.
Okay. I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
I've got a persimmon tree in my front yard, and lightning hit it.
Oh, man, you should talk through it.
Yeah. No, he'll just put it in his mouth.
That's a melodica.
It doesn't taste like a Mellotron.
Persimmon.
Decided, you know what? I needed to make pedals. Hang on.
Until after,
Yeah, it's not the one with the
trees.
pointy bottom. Another persimmon tree. Gonna try to make some jam. Because they are golf balls. That's all they are.
Persimmon tree.
We'd get.
Was this
these.
before your jazzercise career?
Yeah. No. Oh.
Paul's persimmon tree.
Hey, how about a nice Hawaiian punch?
Banana Quick was the good stuff.
Those persimmons?
No, Texas has a T in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so does Tennessee. These giant persimmons.
And I was like, oh my God, they know where I am. They're going to come get me. Oh my God.
Persimmons.
These yahoos like to run away with a spoon.
Hey, who are you calling a Yahoo?
You. Ooh. The persimmons.
Do y'all use a separate clipper set for your toenails and your fingernails, or do you just do one for both?
I figure Tony uses tin snips.
Persimmon tree. I'll
Like Jughead.
It was
Yeah,
not,
like Jughead
No.
wore. Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
2 persimmon trees.
Oh, we're still talking about trees?
It was very, very nice to figure that out.
Number 5, the Lodge.
Yes.
What,
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.